I was 18. I was lost. I was broken. I was manipulative, chaotic, reckless, and I loved it. I grew up in the church, and I hated everything about it. And as I was growing up, I would hear these things about God, and I would refute them in my mind, and came to the conclusion that God just didn't exist. And if God didn't exist, then rules and laws, which our country and our societies are built upon, don't exist. And therefore I could do whatever I wanted. That led to a lot of decisions that I made, reckless decisions, stupid decisions, but ultimately to serve who I thought I was at the time. Me and my grandfather had a really deep relationship, and I kind of viewed him more important than my own father at the time. And just to face him as a man and the things that I did, it broke me. And I think that was the first time I realized something inside of me was not right. Because that day, we headed down to the beach. I'm from a coastal town, and just went down, and I remember there was no one on the beach, a very rare thing because that beach is always packed. And I kind of had a moment, and in that moment I think I realized maybe he is real. Maybe this whole thing is real. And I looked up to the sky and I was like, okay, here we go. And I said, if you're real, prove it to me. And if you do, I'll give you my life forever. But you have to prove it. Still, my conscience battling the thought of God and the thought of his existence. But something inside me was overtaking that. It was driving me to seek. And then that Sunday, we went to church, and there was a guest speaker. I just remember he stopped the sermon in the blink, like legit the middle of it. And that caught my attention because I had never seen a preacher ever do that. And he kind of put his head down, and he was like, God is telling me that there's some people in this room tonight that are struggling and in bondage to sexual sin and to many other sins. And he wants you to know that you can be free. I remember opening my eyes and I was power walking to the stage. And I didn't know why, but I was doing it. I can't recite you a single word the guy said, because all I remember was my eyes just started to water and just cry. And I fell to my knees, and all I could remember saying was, I'm sorry. I am sorry. And just the weight of what I had done, just kind of, I guess, I realized it. I realized what I had done was reckless, not only to myself, but to every single person I've ever come in contact with, that I manipulated, that I lied to, that I took advantage of, that I used and abused. All of it just at once came upon me. And I felt like the most horrible human being in the world. And all I could say was, I'm sorry. I am sorry. At the moment, I didn't know what it was, but it was this crazy, crazy feeling of this like pulsing thing in my body. And I felt almost like my body was being cleaned. And in that second, I remember thinking, this is the Holy Spirit. This is what they talk about. This is that thing I heard in church my whole life. Oh my goodness, this is it. And in that moment, I realized God is real. This whole thing is real. Okay, you proved it. I'm yours. And I relented, and I gave myself to the Lord. So that day, I learned 2 lessons. That no matter what we do, good or bad, there's always consequences. But no matter what we do, God's love, His grace, His mercy, His forgiveness, and His redemption is bigger.